Victor,
Yes, sir.
out of all the genres that we've seen come out of the extended Star Wars universe,
Mm-hmm.
the main timeline universe, the movies, the shows,
Yeah.
you have your crime mysteries with Acolyte,
Right.
you have your classic Shakespearean main storyline with the Skywalker saga,
Right. Right.
you have your political intrigue shows with Andor.
Yeah. Yeah.
What genre of show, movie, series would you like to see come out that would pique your interest that hasn't been done yet?
That doesn't have to do with Skywalker, with Star Wars, with lightsabers, or just
No, whatever you want. Yeah,
okay.
what genre? Like romance? Even though I don't think you're
I
going to
got
say
you.
that. Or do you think just a drama? Or
Yeah.
do you just a straight action? Or what?
I want an action thriller.
Okay.
I think Maul or something like that would bring something like that out. Just
Oh yeah,
straight up like just duels every freaking episode. Yeah.
that would be so exciting.
Right? Would it?
Because he's so fast paced.
So fast paced.
He had the actor had a background in gymnastics. I
Did
want
he
to say.
really?
Yeah.
Park. Forget what his name is. Yeah, I mean, you like the romance and the,
Oh, I love romance.
right? But it's Star Wars, man.
Ray Park.
Ray Park, that's the guy's name. So you want to see 6-minute lightsaber duels and jumping off of walls and stuff.
So you're saying that you would want a movie or a show that's just nothing but action
Yeah.
thriller the entire time.
I mean, they're gonna have to throw in
Yeah.
the love story and the sad moments, the sappy moments, right? But
yeah, you want
I
it to
want
be
it,
emotional.
I
yeah.
want it to be action packed. I want there to be starfighters flying around and just blowing stuff up.
Barbara has to be the one to do it.
100%.
With doing the Marvel, he would have to do
Yeah.
it.
I mean, this Starfighter movie that's coming out, maybe that's what they do.
One genre that I want to see is a survival horror.
Maybe-
Alien or like Alien. Something very...
Maybe with this season 2 of Acolyte, maybe that's what they do with Plagueis,
So what...
Because Plagueis was the darkest of the dark. Like, just scary,
That's
dude.
right. I completely forgot that there was... I'm not sure...
His
Was it
hand-
Plagueis that they showed, or was it
That's-
just another one of the... Another...
I mean, who knows, right? They never really came out and said it, but Plagueis is, I mean, you see the hand, you see the red eyes. Hand is just like scary looking, like one of those Night of the Living Dead type hands. So maybe that's what they do in season 2.
That'd be so dope.
That'd be really dope.
If they did it, have a Sith explore some of the old tombs of the ancient Sith
Yeah.
lords and
Yeah.
kind of go into, almost like how you think of when people go and explore mummy tombs in the pyramids.
Right.
And have these booby traps and these spiritual possessions, or just something that's really dark and gritty. I would
Yeah.
like to see something like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily for me have to be a lot of action, but definitely something that's terrifying, something to explore that. I don't think it needs to be a whole
Something
series,
you're going to
but
jump out of your seat
yeah.
of type thing. Yeah.
Like a James Wan movie,
Yeah.
The Conjuring, or
Like
what was another?
you don't know what's coming next.
yeah,
Yeah.
just kind
yeah.
of very like scary, like
Yeah.
survival
Yeah,
horror,
yeah.
like Alien or
That'd be-
Prometheus or
they-
something like
They've
that.
never done it.
I think it would be so
I
dope.
think it would, man. That'd be pretty awesome.
What's going on, y'all? This is Alexander. You are plugged into the Nerd Companion.
In season 1 of Acolyte, you were saying that at least led to believe that we saw Darth Plagueis.
Yes.
I was hoping that's what it was, and because you told me that they were coming out this season 2,
Yeah.
and I was
They
excited.
just announced it. Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause I remember you told me it was one of your favorite spin-off series.
Yeah, which is
I didn't
weird.
really agree with that because,
So
it wasn't my thing, but I liked it. It was good, but didn't compare to some of the other shows they've been doing
yeah,
for me.
yeah, no, I would agree. And there's definitely some pitfalls from the show that I didn't like, but I feel it had some of the themes that I wanted to see explored a little more deeply.
The mysterious aspects of just
Yeah.
the mysteries of it just.
And following a dark-sided Jedi
Yeah.
or a dark-sided Force user or an adept, having to navigate what's good and what's bad, but ultimately choosing the bad. But what does that look like? Because we only get glimpses of it in the Skywalker saga. Darth Vader.
Right.
You get a little bit with Maul, and you only get like little snippets. But I would love a deep dive show to
straight up dark.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and have them win.
Yeah.
Screw the Jedi, bro.
Screw them.
All right, well, what's going on, y'all? This is Alexander from the Nerd Companion. Happy May the 4th to you. May the 4th weekend. This is going to be a special episode for May the 4th. I mean, there's not going to be really any specific agenda other than just trying to discuss different topics, get into some deep dives, maybe debate. I hope we actually have a lot of different opinions.
So do I.
I might just steel man you just for the sake of conversation to see what it sparks. Just a little disclaimer, and I'm just going to speak for myself. I am in no way, shape, or form a Star Wars lore master. Anything that I...
Me either.
I'm just a humble fanboy.
Yeah.
And anything that I say that sounds I'm trying to be factual, I will try to fact check myself as much as I can.
Same.
With the wonderful technology that we have called the Wide Web.
The Google.
Mr. Google.
Yeah.
I will try to fact check myself, but anything that sounds factual, I'm just shooting from the hip. And I will probably, if I have any theories or opinions, it's just based off my current knowledge. So
same.
Anything that's wrong, don't completely destroy me. It's all for fun and games. And I hope you guys enjoy. Qui-Gon Jinn's favorite pizza toppings was actually mushrooms. Because mushrooms are the closest plant that's closest to the human, to the earth. And they communicate with their roots just like humans communicate with words. Idiot. Question, which bear is best?
Black bear.
Okay. All right, let's get to it. All right, so this kind of goes into, I mean, you see it as a repeated theme in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But it definitely raised a moral question for me while watching Acolyte. I will say, Acolyte to me was one of my favorites because it explores characters going through choices to the dark side.
Yeah.
But one of the moral questions that really kind of stuck with me, and I think now because I have children, do you think that the Jedi have any moral or legal jurisdiction to take young Force adepts from their parents to get training?
I mean, it's...
Because like watching that as a parent.
So I have two girls too, so I'm right there with you. But at the same time, because of the Star Wars universe and what they stand for and what it's all been about, and they've got their younglings, and I don't know, man, it's hard. They're taking them. I didn't know it was that bad. I thought it was my kid has Force power. He's got the midichlorians or whatever you want to call it, and send them off to a training academy or whatever you want to call it.
And this may not be a direct representation of what everything was like throughout the time of
back in the Clone Wars and all that, right?
I mean, they might not have always done that, but in this particular instance in Acolyte, they were basically trying to get a hold of these two children.
They were trying to hide their abilities, their Force abilities or something like that, because they didn't want them to find out.
Right.
So
my thing is this, for the greater good, in the way that the Jedi, from my understanding, that they take their emotions out of it and they take actions that aren't necessarily widely accepted to do things for the greater good. And they see it as a risk to have a Force sensitive or Force adept to go through life without being taught the foundation of discipline, of being able to control your emotions or
training, I guess you want to call it.
Yeah. And basically keep them from becoming a force for evil, right? That some of the basic human instinct that we have to kind of guide them or make them fall to the dark side.
Yeah.
And so I understand that from a lore perspective and the Jedi perspective, but as a parent, there's no way I would just give my kid up.
It should be up to the parent just to have them raise them and just have them not go into the dark side or, be dark or be bad or do things like that. But it's that, just hearing like the Jedi were just like, well, we need to take him because we don't want him to fight us later on or something like that.
Which is, I mean, probably
basically what it is, right?
Yeah. But it was just so crazy because, like, I understand from a Jedi perspective, but as a Jedi who's trained, many years of discipline, they're separated. That sort of attachment, that emotion, they're separated from that. They see things from a very, if you think about it, the Jedi is basically a religion. It's basically a way of belief. It's a cult. It's basically a cult.
It is.
It's Scientology.
I mean, and what's crazy in Acolyte, they end up, it reverses because they're trying to get the good girl. They have the good girl and they lie to her and do all the Jedi do all this stuff and deceive her. and it ends up doing backfire because she ends up going to the dark side, and so it was backwards.
So then that raises another question.
That's maybe it's not good that they kind of interfere, because it makes things worse for the sisters.
It was a complete cover up.
It was.
It was a complete cover up. So I guess
100%.
that raises the second question, is that they were trying to get consent from parents, and things didn't go the way they wanted to go, and they ended up lying,
Yeah.
which is
They
not necessarily part of the Jedi code. They end up trying to cover it up, but that goes against everything against the Jedi code.
Right.
And they were having to do things that were outside the boundaries of their beliefs to ensure that this thing happened. So then the question is, like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
And I guess it really just comes down to consent. And I thought that I got emotional when the mom was, make your decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
That's crazy, right? Like,
being able to completely let go of that.
what was she, probably like, what, 8 or 9? Something like that, maybe?
Yeah.
So imagine like you're 8 or 9 and your parent like tells you it's up to you. You do what you do. I'm gonna let you choose whatever you want.
But how is an 8-year-old supposed to understand the magnitude of that choice?
They can't.
Yeah.
They can't.
And essentially, like, they go through training, and it's not like, I mean, they have failed students,
Yeah.
here and there, but assuming that everything goes right with that child and they grow to be a Jedi, that Jedi is going to be okay, because they learn how to
Separate
that sort of, discipline and the obligation of the power that they have.
Right.
It's because you have that power, you have an obligation to step away from the reptile brain of your carnal urges, your emotions. So, I mean, the brunt of the blow really comes to the parent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not being able to see that child and not being able to visit, watch them grow, and may never even see that child again.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows if Jedi
Come
back and like visit and stuff like that. But I
It's
mean,
crazy, right? To even like say
knocking books off
show
the
me
shelf.
what you learned.
Murph! Don't go, Murph!
Stay.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
Don't have the emotional capacity for that one. Yeah, so that was definitely a thing where I was like, man.
Yeah, they kind of Disney went out on that one for sure.
Yeah, that I feel like had some double meanings there, but
Won't
get into that.
It seems like they back, in the Clone Wars and in the originals and all that, with Vader, with Anakin, it kind of happened like that.
Yeah.
But
But it wasn't like Anakin was going to live like this good life. I mean,
Yeah,
Mom
like,
saw that there was way more opportunity,
yeah.
For that.
So that's a little bit different, because the mom is like, well, you ain't gonna do nothing here.
Yeah.
And if they're telling me you're this special kid with these crazy amounts of midichlorians or whatever it's called, right?
I never understood the midichlorians. I thought that was such a weird thing.
I just know they're like in little tubes.
Yeah. Can I drink that? Is that something I can drink?
I wish.
I totally would do it.
Yep.
So in different parts of history in Star Wars, and I know a lot of this is not canon, but some of my favorite stories come from the Old Republic.
Yeah.
And in the game Knights of the Old Republic, or even, Star Wars The Old Republic, the massive multiplayer online game, you have the Jedi and the Sith. And the Sith at this time, at least in this time period, almost emulated a collective approach for the Sith's agenda, right? And then you have Darth Bane, who comes later in time and establishes the rule of 2. Right? What do you think is more effective in dominance and control from a Sith's perspective in regard to just knowledge, power, control, basic imperialism over the galaxy? Do you think that the Sith rule of 2 is more effective than what we see in the Jedi is a more collective approach, having an academy, having structure, training everyone?
Yeah.
What do you think is a more effective approach in regard to establishing and fulfilling an agenda?
Yeah. The rule of 2 has worked for a very long time,
at least in what
we've seen, right? Kind of leaning towards that, because they're a lot more powerful. It's just 2 people, 2 Siths. Yeah, it's a lot more effective than having a whole bunch of Jedis. And with the Sith, I feel like you're a lot more stronger, because you can tap into that dark side, that extra emotion. And with Jedis, you stay away from the dark side, so you don't tap into any of that.
Okay, so I guess my question is are you saying Are you comparing the rule of two for the Sith is stronger than the Jedi
Yeah.
as a collective? Okay, so I guess let me state my question then. What do you think would be more effective for the Sith? Do you think that are more effective as having
Do what
training
the Jedi do.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
are they more effective with training more Sith and having an academy and having a bigger hierarchy and openly teach Force adepts to embrace the dark side and have a bigger number? Or do you think that having a rule of two is more effective in domination?
Yeah.
I guess is my
I
question.
think the rule of two. I think the rule of two, because that's what the Empire is for. That's why you have all these generals and these minions, if you would call them, right? That's why you have all of them to do all that stuff. And the stormtroopers. If you start having more people in power and that much power, because Sith is all about power, that's just going to be way too. I mean, look what happened with Palpatine and Vader. Vader was like wanting to come do his thing on his own. Maul wanted to do his thing on his own. What's his name? The guy with the gray beard, Gandalf. Yeah, he wanted to do a thing on his own. Palpatine had another agenda and wasn't even gonna use Gandalf anymore.
New name Gandalf.
Because if you have more than two, it's too many hands in the cookie jar. Too many cooks in the kitchen, right? With that much power.
I would agree with you, especially playing the old MMO, Star Wars: The Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic. If you think about everything that the Sith stand for, they're all about their self, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're not necessarily looking out for the movement as a whole, right?
The team.
The team.
Yeah.
And humans by nature, without the Force, are individually people are good people. If you pull them one-on-one and you're talking to them, you get the real raw person.
Right.
Most people would have a good heart, but you put them in a position where
they're going to get judged.
They're all trying to like play this political game. You see it even in the Republic. There's going to be betrayal and political misbehavior.
Yeah.
That's going to be only multiplied with this.
Exactly.
Like they would
That's
be
what I'm
so
saying.
unstable and volatile that it would just be so out of control.
Imagine having Vader, Palpatine, Luke if he was in the dark side. Grievous. I mean, imagine having all of them in a table.
They would all be watching their back.
Anything done.
They'd all be Han Solo with the gun under the
they'd have
table.
They have the
like,
lightsaber
ready to like. Is this dude gonna kill me right
hand
now?
on the button.
Yeah, just waiting.
Yeah, Grievous would have like 5.
Yeah. It would be so bad. And the only thing that keeps that in check is power.
Yeah.
Right? Is that assertion of power.
Yep.
Knowing that, and I'm using Palpatine as an example.
I mean, it's Palpatine. You don't do what I tell you, I'm gonna kill you.
Right. And so
that's what he did with, I can't even remember his name.
Maul?
No.
Or Grievous?
The bald, the gray beard guy.
Dooku. Count Dooku.
So that's exactly what he did with Dooku.
Who was actually...
He didn't need him anymore.
Who was actually Gandalf's adversary in Lord of the Rings.
Saruman.
Oh, worlds collide.
Yeah. It's like, I don't need you anymore. You're old. You probably can't fight much anymore.
But honestly, that's what the Sith are about. It's that sort of mentality that the Sith see as a strength. Because at the end of the day, if you're able to best your upper, then you deserve to be above them anyway.
Yeah.
It just is so much volatility involved with having a lot of Sith that, I mean, you're always going to have a top dog, but that sort of instability of power and who to report to, who's giving orders, there would be no order whatsoever. Agendas would be changing.
You got to have a balance, and that's their balance. So it's like two work for them. That's their type of balance, because you'd have so many disagreements and I don't see it working at all.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that as a Sith Lord, the top dog is knowing that you're almost in a very gross, cynical, twisted way that you're looking for the day to be bested. Once you are bested by your apprentice, it's almost as if you die happy.
Yeah.
Like, I did it.
Yeah.
Like, you know that this dude's badder than you are. Like, I did what I was supposed to. It's so weird to like think like that.
It was just imagine it if it worked though. They'd be unfreaking stoppable.
So here's the thing that I would like to see explored more in Star Wars that they could do is the idea of having this rule of two. You have the master and you have the apprentice, right? And anything else doesn't matter.
Right.
Right? I mean, your apprentice can have an apprentice, but they're not technically a Sith. There's only 2 Sith. You're just a force user, or an inquisitor, right? Those were the inquisitors, right? Like they weren't necessarily knighted as a Sith. You were an inquisitor until the hierarchy changed and one moved up, or one was chosen.
Until one died, or you killed them.
Or you killed them and you moved up.
Yeah.
But think about the idea is that the galaxy itself is so big. It's crazy to think that while all of this is going on, and I'm using Palpatine and Vader as an example, it would be crazy to think that there's another master and apprentice somewhere.
Another pair.
Somewhere,
Yeah.
Doing their plan. They could be plotting against Palpatine, or they're already like trying to conjure up their own master plan, waiting to strike those two, right? It's not crazy to think that could be happening.
That would be
I mean, that's an interesting show idea.
I'd go watch that for sure. I'd be all in for that.
That'd be like a great story for Vader, right?
Yeah.
As like another master and apprentice, and Vader has to go handle that business.
Imagine.
That would be insane. Or just like another timepiece, right?
They probably did have something like that, but because of the whole rule of 2, they didn't want to steer away from that.
But even then, you still have your rule of 2, right? And if everyone reports to Palpatine and Vader, we know that that's the true master and apprentice. But at any point in time, if there is a dark force user, that doesn't mean that anybody can't step up. And I guarantee you that if a dark force user killed Vader, Palpatine would be like, all right, you're my guy.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have cared.
Yeah. That's what he did. That's what he did with Dooku.
Yeah.
What he did with Dooku.
He was willing to do it right there with Luke.
Yep.
Kill your father.
Yeah.
Step up.
It's crazy.
Step up. He did not care. But that's all what it's about.
Yeah.
It's so savage.
It's the only way it works.
Yeah.
That's the only way it works.
It's very tyrannical, but it works.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but tyranny, it's a nasty, terrible thing, but it's effective.
You know what, though? I feel like if the Jedi had that rule, there'll be some kind of dark thing going on with them, because Yoda's of the top dog, and, maybe Qui-Gon is like, well, I want to be the top, I don't know. It's like,
but that's what all that training is about, though. That's what all that training is about. It's about humility, humble, being, severed away from personal growth,
right? Yeah,
sacrificing one's agenda for the greater good,
achievements, and just
because you don't look at that.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of the struggle that Anakin struggled with.
Yeah, he wanted recognition.
Yeah, he was chasing the things that the Jedi was trying to teach him. Yo, this is not what this is about. This is why you're not becoming a master.
Yeah,
you're not getting it, man.
Right. But he was the perfect Sith.
Yeah. So the rule of 2, I think, is effective to a degree, but there's no denying a whole army of Sith. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ. As volatile as it be, I would not want to go to war with them, because they're like Vikings. They're relishing in the thrill of the fight. So you were saying something earlier that struck a thought for me, and this may already be answered. There might be an explanation. I'm just looking at this from a theoretical standpoint. Anytime that I ever thought of the Force, I think of, you have a pool of the dark side and you have the pool of the light side, and there's only a finite amount of Force.
Yeah. Right.
And as a Jedi, you draw from the Force of the light side, and as a Sith, you draw from the pool of the dark side of the Force. And I always thought that Bane, at least in my mind, not saying that this is the case, feel free to let me know, comment, message, whatever. I would love to be educated. I'm just breaking this down, making up numbers so it's easy to understand. If you had 20 Jedi and then you had 2 Sith, you have 20 Jedi who have to divide the amount of Force used by 20, right? So they're getting smaller pieces of the pie. But if you have the rule of 2, then you have 2 dark side Force users that have the potential to use half of the Force. So that would mean that one of the 2 is stronger than...
You're saying they're like drawing
more power.
Force from wherever
it
coming
is
from, right?
So they have the ability to draw more power because there's only 2 people.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I'm talking about. That's why I was saying they're able to tap into a lot more because they just don't care. Jedi, maybe that's true. Maybe you're onto something.
I doubt it. This was just something that I thought about. I would have to do research, but it'd be crazy to think that that's what it was.
A little bit of the Force.
But I mean, it'd be crazy to think. I mean, if you have an apprentice who's using 50% of the Force, they have half of the entire pool of the dark side of the Force fighting 2 Jedi who only collectively have a tenth of the power of the Force.
Yeah.
Like they would just slay them.
Now, if you slay 10 Jedi,
Then their power
does
would
it
grow.
even out?
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
then those 10 Jedi would then have the potential to get 10% each Jedi.
Yeah.
10%.
Their lightsaber gets a little bit darker.
Just a thought. So in Kenobi,
Yeah.
we had a discussion
We did.
about
Reba. Mhm.
Reva at the end of the show, of course, basically does the right thing.
Right.
Right. And there was the discussion, does that absolve her of her crimes? Right. So the question is, does the redemption of Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi, does it absolve him? Is it wiped clean?
Everything that he did before that moment.
Yeah. Because it was easy for me to go look at Revis and go, absolutely not. You still did all of those
Yeah.
things. You have some atonement to do.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying you can't be used for good after that, but there's certainly some atonement that needs to be done.
But for Darth Vader, that was the ultimate atonement. That killing Palpatine was the ultimate redemption,
Right.
right? I mean, yeah,
There's no denying that he has redemption, right?
yeah,
From going from,
because you know he the whole Force Ghost thing. That's a fanboy in me that's just like, no, I don't care if he did all that bad stuff.
so you're saying he gets a hall pass.
I think he does. I think he does.
So if it were
I
me,
think he does.
because I love Vader so much, I would give him a hall pass. But if I'm being objective,
Yeah.
and let's just say that Vader lives and they decide to reestablish the Jedi Council and Academy.
Yeah. Do they let him back in?
Sure.
Well, there you go.
Sure. I think they would let him in, but I don't think that they would put him in a position where he would be tempted. Okay, so let me cross worlds here.
Yeah.
In Harry Potter, they refused to let Snape teach Defense Against the Dark Arts because he was a follower of Lord Voldemort.
Right.
And Dumbledore's reasoning was that he didn't want him to be close to the dark arts and want him to be tempted.
Yeah, to get reeled in.
Reeled in. Now, of course, a lot of that that's the reasoning before the big reveal.
But, yeah,
at the end.
we don't know that, right?
Yeah.
So
That's the reasoning that you're led to believe throughout
Yeah.
the story and that makes sense. So I think that they would have that same approach with Vader. Like, yeah, you're coming to the council, but I think that they would use him as like a teacher, like
this is what not to do.
yeah. And he has real world experience. And you got to understand that you got to learn to cut these feelings off because
Yeah.
this is what can happen. I'm literally a living embodiment of what the dark side can do
Right.
to you if you let it get into your heart.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would be people might go, that would be such a step down from what Vader, he could be utilized to do so much more. But I feel like the best utilization for Vader, if he were to live and they establish that he could be a major mentor
Yeah.
for students, that would be such an important aspect
Yeah.
in the teaching of being a Jedi.
Do you think he had something to do with Luke not crossing over?
Elaborate. What do you mean?
Luke is right at that point, right, where it's like strike him
In
down.
Return?
I think in Return of the Jedi, he's already
You're talking about when he's fighting him in Empire?
in
at the very
Empire.
end?
Yeah. So he's starting to tap into that dark.
Oh, yeah, because he was
So do
mad.
you
He was
think-
hitting with anger.
Right. So do you think Vader had something to do with him not crossing over, or vice versa?
Are you asking, did Vader have something to do with Luke not crossing over
Right.
the Empire? Did
Yeah,
that
like
fight
to
have-
the dark side.
If I remember correctly, I believe Vader was trying to get him to strike him down.
Right. So that's
he was antagonizing him.
So then it's like in Return, then it's the other way around. Then it's like, come on, join me. Me and you were together.
I think he even did that before they went up to the Death Star.
Yeah.
We can do this.
Yeah.
The rule of two. You could be my number 2, bro. I mean,
Bro.
son. Son.
So I mean,
Son.
Luke didn't. I guess he fought it off himself. That feeling of wanting to turn, and he would have had it all. It would have been him and his dad, right?
Yeah. I think there was definitely that moment because Vader was definitely provoking him. He was definitely antagonizing him.
Right.
And then I think there was that moment when Luke found out that was his dad. I think that was the catalyst because before that, there was fear of Vader. That was a part of, the training
Right.
on Dagobah.
Yeah, in the cave.
He had been told by Kenobi that his father was killed by Vader,
Mhm.
metaphorically.
Mhm.
After it was revealed that was his father and understanding the truth and how he was told that, yeah, Vader did kill his father. He killed who his father
Yeah.
was in soul and became a completely different person, and seeing that transformation of hearing all of the amazing things that Anakin did, getting goosebumps, like talking about it. Your father was killed, and the only thing that you have of him are these stories of how he was a war hero. Right. He was amazing at all of these things. And you are fighting the guy who killed him, and then he tells you he's your father, and then it clicks. Oh my God, you were this amazing person, and now your anger, your anguish, all of these negative emotions drove you to do these terrible things, and you're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
And because he was tormented there.
Yeah.
And then when he got on the Millennium Falcon, he was almost at peace.
He sighed, accepted it, but he's talking to Kenobi. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Did Vader at the time know, if I tell him that I'm his dad, is it going to backfire on me?
It did.
Right? It did.
It did. At least if his agenda was to get him to turn with him.
Right. I think that I think that's what he thought was going to happen.
Right.
In his mind, but it was just the complete opposite.
There was a moment right there when he got back into the Millennium Falcon that he accepted it. I can't do those things. I have to find peace.
Yeah.
Because I can't let this go on. I have to end this for the sake of my father's name.
Right.
So what you were saying actually raised a question that I'll get into right now, that in this, again, this is all just a latent thought. This is probably already spelled out somewhere on the internet. But would it be interesting to think that Darth Vader in Empire, provoking Luke, was trying to see if he would turn to the dark side? What if he was trying to see if he had the potential to turn him down?
If he was strong enough to...
Because he knew what was going to happen at the end of Revenge was going to come.
Yeah.
Because he knew he had to be the bad guy. Like, at some point, he knew what he had done. He has done his atonement, and he knew that he needed to test Luke in a way that Luke thought he was really trying to be turned to the dark side, but really he was trying to test his mettle to reinforce to not embrace the dark side, knowing that there was going to be this meeting.
I don't want you to end up like me.
Right. And he was trying to test him.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I think so, because it's like,
was he thinking 2 steps ahead? Was he playing chess, or was he like in the moment? Like,
I think if you look back, Anakin was always playing chess.
Yeah.
He
was a G, bro.
He was.
He was a G.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even remember the question. Yeah. So, yes, I'd give him the hall pass. It's Vader. Yeah. I love you, Anakin. I love you. Will you be my dad? No. A lot of these questions now from this point kind of are going forward with the new trilogy and kind of things to be made.
Yeah, all the new stuff
going forward.
Okay.
And even like future potential, projects with Star Wars. Given the many complaints of the new trilogy, what was one thing that you felt you wanted explored a little more elaborately that you did not get in the new trilogy?
Probably Luke's journey.
Like what happened?
Yeah, like I mean that's a big chunk of timeline missing. And then you get to that point where you finally see him. Wait, this is not the Luke that I remember. That just rubbed me the wrong way. I wanted to see what happened with him and Kylo Ren. They showed you little clips and stuff, but you just see him in a cave all sad and like, I don't know. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see what actually happened to Luke. What did Luke do for all these freaking years? He's got to be like 50 something. It's 20 something years. I think it's like 30 years after Return of the Jedi, something like that.
Okay. So the ages will be a little different. So you say you didn't like the character of Luke.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
So this is what I found interesting. I actually felt the same way. What? So then I thought about this. There was a psychologist. He might have been a psychiatrist, but sorry if I get this wrong. Don't slam me. His name was Eric Erickson, and he had a psychosocial development, and it's called the 8 stages of personality development that basically span from infancy to late adulthood. The premise of the development of lifespan is basically at each age, depending on how your nature or how you're nurtured, you are basically on one end of the spectrum, right? Okay. So from 0 to 18 months, you have trust versus mistrust. Infants develop a sense of trust or mistrust based on the consistency of responsiveness to caregivers, right? When they hit 18 months to 3 years, they have autonomy versus shame and doubt. Toddlers learn to assert their independence and make choices, developing self-confidence and feeling the shame, doubt of their autonomy if it's stifled, right? So you let them do their thing,
Yeah.
or they feel shame. Depending on how they fall on this spectrum, might have them fall on this positive or this negative characteristic that contributes to how they act and behave in life. Middle-aged adults focus on contributing to society, making a difference, or they may feel stagnant and unfulfilled. So this is where we get into Luke's character, right?
Yeah.
He's a middle-aged man. He's trying to contribute to society by forming this academy. He's trying to do everything he possibly can.
Yeah.
And the result of that was Ben turning. That was the biggest catalyst that made it feel he was a big failure. He was unable to contribute to his goal. It made him feel unfulfilled. If it made him feel unfulfilled, it puts him in a paradigm here at the very end. He might have been around 60 or so. It says older adults reflect on their lives, achieving a sense of acceptance and wisdom, or they may feel despair and regret about their choices. Luke was in despair.
Yeah.
He was.
I mean, clearly, right?
Right. I didn't like the events that led to him being that way. It makes sense from a psychological perspective that Luke would feel despair at this age because he's now at the end of his life. He doesn't have much time left to contribute to society. He's looking at his failures and his accomplishments, although they were great when he was younger, what he was trying to leave behind as a legacy wasn't fulfilled.
And it backfired.
And it backfired on
him. Yeah, I get that, right? I wish I would have been able to see that. That was my thing. Like, I mean, that's a big piece of that puzzle for him, right? Like, what happened? All you see is Kylo Ren turned and he got the Knights of Ren and he just destroyed his whole academy and broke Luke. And then Luke went into hiding. That's all you see, right?
Because Ben was going to be the next big thing.
He was going to be the next Skywalker.
Yeah, he was going to be the next big thing.
Yeah,
he was the Skywalker.
Yeah, he was. So,
God, how, like, can you imagine
the weight of the name, right? Like, that's just the biggest name in the galaxy.
Right. He's
and
idolized his
all on your shoulders to be the next one in line.
Right. I mean, you're looking at, so you have a bunch of academies, right? In a galaxy that you have a bunch of academies.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to go to the Skywalker Academy.
Yeah.
That's Harvard. That's Ivy League.
Yeah.
Shit.
That's the academy. So, yeah, I mean, it's, that was just my thing, but I get what you're saying.
I was definitely heartbroken when I saw that. I was, man, why are you acting like that?
Yeah.
And then you come to find out why.
Yeah. And
but you only get little snippets. And
I
they should have went deeper, but you
yeah,
had to do that in a movie.
When you're a fanboy, at the very end, you get the cliffhanger with the lightsaber and he hands it to him. And then to have him grab it and just toss it, just like, come on.
Especially left for like 2 years where he grabs it and you're like, all right, dude.
Yeah, like
he's about to get training, bro. About to get that Luke.
You know, the trailer that came out, the songs that led up to that trailer. I remember that trailer that came out, the Force Awakens trailer.
Dude, I watched it so many times. Man, I was definitely a little disheartened when I saw Luke be that way. They pulled the rug from under you because you're thinking she's going to get this awesome training.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, hold on. I waited 2 years for this? You bastards. Okay. All right, here we go. I wanted to know more about the Knights of Ren.
Yeah, and and they see. I think if you give that Luke Skywalker timeline, you got to throw the Knights of Ren because that was a big part of that whole timeline.
Even the costume design,
right,
and stuff like that.
The red,
it was like a bunch of samurais, bro.
Yeah,
dude, it would have been so insane. Like, were they Force users?
Did they have a book? I think they have I think they had a book. Or something.
The Knights of Ren they have a book on
something. It was,
I'm gonna have to look that up and read it.
Yeah, it was something. I can't remember if it was a book or they came out and like it was like a piece of the cartoon, something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they dove more into the Knights of Ren.
Okay, I've got to go check that out.
Yeah,
and you would think that I'd want to see it so badly, but I haven't looked up anything on YouTube.
Yeah,
but
I think a lot of it just has to do with the new trilogy. Just didn't rub people.
Yeah,
it didn't hit right. It didn't hit as hard as.
I mean, there was things about the trilogy I liked. I mean, it wasn't like
I did too. I liked it more than I didn't like. Yeah, I'm 80-20. There's some things, the whole Luke thing and the things that it was just like, really, bro, come on.
Some of the plot holes.
I know a lot of people didn't like when Han Solo got killed off.
Oh, that was perfect. That needed to happen.
It was right, and
I loved it
exactly.
How are you gonna have
Han Solo you got to roll it in for the new guys, right? So you have to.
But even if you didn't, that movie would not be as good if Han Solo lived.
Yeah.
That movie, I would say that was 40% of the movie.
Yeah. It was
for me.
Man, that was
Because
that hit, man. That one hit too.
I remember watching that scene. I'm going, wait, is he gonna kill him? No, he's not gonna kill him, dude. He's gonna kill him.
Yeah.
No, he's not gonna kill him. No, he's not gonna kill him. My God,
Yeah.
he killed him.
And then you hear Chewbacca.
Tears.
That was such a good scene, man. It was so good. So good. That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people trash the movie, the new ones, and
there was really good parts. Star Wars is so Shakespearean, and people don't even understand it.
Yeah.
You're talking about family ties, family betrayal. It's so Shakespeare, bro.
Yeah.
It is so Shakespeare. Yeah. It's so lame because it's fucking space fantasy. Dude, yes, I get it.
At this point, it's space fantasy is on the back burner.
Yeah.
Because you get to know all these characters and the stories from 50 years ago, whatever, and it's just all just
culminating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so good. The son killing his father. I would never push for that. But like for story, that just makes for so much growth. God, it was just so good. Okay. Talking about plot holes, which I know we had some different opinions, and I can't wait to get this question.
Yeah.
Was Palpatine's return in Rise of the Skywalker a betrayal of the Chosen One prophecy, or did it reinforce the idea that balance is a never-ending struggle? I want to hear your take, man.
No. Palpatine should have stayed dead.
Okay.
I know the whole they throw him down and Maul got thrown down, the thing, whatever. Like everyone survived. The only one we haven't seen is friggin' Samuel Jackson. Windu is
I would love to see Windu show, miniseries, movie, something.
Right? But
never get enough of Samuel L. Jackson.
Snakes on the plane.
Say Sith one more motherfucking time.
So with that happening, Anakin being the chosen one gets thrown completely out the window.
Okay, but why?
Because it all with Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon was the one that said it. Qui-Gon was the one that got Anakin. He's the chosen one.
What did he say? What was his prophecy?
He's the chosen one. He's the one that's going to bring balance to the Force.
All right. Remember you said that.
Yeah. Because, you go through, he becomes Vader, and everyone thinks, oh, Luke is the chosen one. But in the very end, it was Vader that came back, got Palpatine, threw him out, and he was the one that fulfilled the prophecy. Because he was the chosen one, not Luke. So for them to do that, it was just, I don't know, they were reaching, man. They were reaching.
Okay.
They were reaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this just to steal menu. Y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. You can tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. What did Qui-Gon Jinn say Anakin was going to do?
Fulfill the prophecy.
And the prophecy was what?
To bring balance to the Force.
Okay. Imagine the scale.
Yeah.
Okay. A balance is what? Equal.
50-50.
Okay. So my thing is this. Qui-Gon Jinn says he's going to bring balance to the Force.
Yeah.
From what I can tell about Qui-Gon Jinn, again, this is just me thinking, he obviously has the power to see prophecy, to vaguely see the future, right? Mm-hmm. So he has some sort of forebodance of things to come.
Yeah.
I don't think it's completely, unless it's otherwise stated somewhere, I don't think it's completely crazy for someone to say that Qui-Gon Jinn sensed that there was going to be a major fallout of the Jedi. There was going to be a major extinction of the Jedi. Now, Qui-Gon Jinn can't come out and just be like, all right, 99% of us is going to get killed.
There's going to be a thing called Order 66.
Yeah, there's going to be this thing, and everyone's going to die. The children are going to die. He might have told people that. I'm not sure. But I think that he probably sensed that that was going to come. And that would cause a huge vacuum of power. And even if you take into the account of my theory, there's a pool and however many Sith or Jedi only get to draw the finite amount. If you kill all the Jedi, then there's imbalance, right? Like you still have the Force, but there's not enough people to use that Force to balance who can use the dark side, right? So you have the balance of the Force, okay? So at the time when everything is said and done and you start getting to the point where the moment is, did he bring balance to the Force by killing Emperor Palpatine?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just break this up mathematically.
All right.
You have Luke Skywalker, a light-sided Jedi. Now, I'm just breaking them up into these titles to make it easy to understand. You have Darth Vader, who is a dark side Sith. You have Palpatine, the dark side Sith. It is not balanced, right? It's not balanced at all.
Okay.
Now you have
Well-
Vader who teeter-totters.
Well, wait. Leia's there,
Leia's there.
and
Sure.
she's not a Jedi, but she's just as strong with the Force as Lucas. She just didn't get the training. So
I would agree with you.
right?
I would agree with you.
So
So we can throw Leia in there. So you have 2 light-sided Force users and 2 dark-sided Force users. It's balanced right now. Vader kills Palpatine,
yeah.
so we think, and then Vader dies. So it's presumed that only Luke survives, or Luke and Leia survive. So if there's no dark-sided Sith, there's technically no balance. There's no balance to the Force. If he's the chosen one to bring balance, right?
Okay.
Technically, by him coming back and him never being killed, there was balance. You ended
You just didn't know it.
yeah,
Is
there
that
was
what
there was balance. What you were left to believe is that he killed Palpatine. Great, that's wonderful. That's wonderful, but that's not bringing balance because now you have 0 on the dark side and 2 on the light side. There's no balance in the Force. If it's that Palpatine is actually living, that's more of a balance than what it was. He technically had balance of the Force. So bringing Palpatine back in number 3, as loose as it was as a theory and the way they did it, I don't have any qualms with them bringing back Palpatine in the story. I think the way that they carried it out was absolutely terrible. They should have had little tidbits.
Could it
like,
be Palpatine?
Could it be Palpatine?
Yeah.
Is he alive? There should have been little things
in the from the second on?
even in the first.
Yeah.
But not necessarily telling you that Palpatine was alive. But so you're not going into movie 3 going, Palpatine's alive, by the way. And it was just carried out so terrible.
And was it even him, or was the clone of him or something?
I thought it was just him.
Was it him? Because remember,
It was,
had
I
all
think it
those
was just in
pods,
like a shell.
kind of like a Voldemort type thing.
Yeah,
Right.
basically trying to reform his physical self
Yeah.
because he got fucked up. He went down an electrical ball of fire. You know what I mean? Like even the darkest of Sith. I mean,
Yeah.
he basically had his own incredible dark lighting power destroy him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that power. He comes back, and they're still technically balanced to the Force.
So what makes it that there has to be a bad and a good for there to be a balance in the Force?
Because that's the balance.
Is it though?
That's to me the definition of balance is something that's equal on both sides.
Yeah.
Let's just say you kill off Palpatine, he's dead. You kill off Vader, he's dead. And all you have is and just assume that there's no more Sith dark users out there.
Right.
You have only 2 light-sided Jedi. There's no balance. So then the question is the fate of the Force this constant state of struggle, which I think it is, because there's always a fight of good and evil.
Yeah.
There's always going to be evil.
Right. Whenever they say balance of the Force balance, all this stuff, is it because there's bad and good, or is it just good and you're just trying to balance out the good?
The way that I look at it and interpret the balance of the
I mean,
Force.
it makes sense. You're right. Like, it's like,
You heard it. Now,
Yeah.
say it one more time. And you get it.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it makes sense, right?
I'm not saying that the bad guy should exist, right? Like in a good story, like, yeah, I want the bad guy to lose. I want all the good people to think.
Right.
But now you're going against what you originally said the prophecy was.
Yeah.
Like you can't just say there's going to be balance to the Force.
Do you
And
think
be like, there's no balance, but the good guys win. Like that's great, but
you think J.J. Abrams thought like that?
I don't know.
I
think maybe they probably try to bring him back just to
because why else? Yeah, I mean, but why else would they bring him back?
Because everybody loved Palpatine. I think if that was the thing, they would have explained that in the movie.
They had to find a vessel or a father because nobody knew where Rey came from. So I think they had Rey came from Palpatine, and that's exactly what it was. Wasn't he like she was like created or something
was
from
it stated
him?
that? Because
I think so.
the new trilogy is the only trilogy of Star Wars that I haven't watched multiple times. I've only seen each movie maybe 4 times, maybe. I'm only fully engaged maybe twice. The other times it's just been on the background. So I haven't fully really analyzed it. But was that?
If I'm not mistaken, she was a Palpatine.
Let's find out. Oh, I know she was a Palpatine. But
So
he had a side piece. Like he's like, hey girl, get over here. Let me show you some of this.
So it's kind of like with Anakin, right? We never knew where Anakin came from.
According to Shmi,
That's the mom.
Okay.
That's the mom.
Anakin was conceived without a father. So he was Jesus. Right here, right after Easter. Oh, that's so stupid, bro.
Yeah.
I can't believe that that's canon. Anakin was conceived without a father, and his birth was the work of the midichlorians, which suggests that he was directly intervened by and with the Force. Old Force Jesus.
Strong.
Great. That makes me sick. Which is what I thought I understood of it, but even then I hated it when I heard it. But let's go on. So Rey Mysterio, no, Skywalker lineage.
Father or Lenny. Okay.
Rey Skywalker's lineage is complex. While she adopts the name Skywalker in honor of her mentor, Luke and Leia, she is genetically related to the Palpatine family. Her father is a cloned son of Darth Sidious. So, I mean, okay, so if she was a genetic experiment, it makes sense because Palpatine was
super strong.
That, and also he studied under Plagueis, who
Yeah,
was all
which
about,
is all about life and death and coming back to life.
who was basically a scientist.
Yeah.
Which then again furthers why he could come back, just because he could conquer death, and he told that to Anakin, and you can conquer death. So I mean,
Yeah.
the little seeds were sown very
for him
delicately
to be able to come back.
So it opened up an avenue for like, it's not impossible.
It wasn't. Come on, bro. Really? Like, because it was all there for him to be able to do that. Yeah. I mean, I think in a way, J.J. Abrams maybe did think the way you were thinking.
I think that he would have said it though.
You think? I mean,
he did the whole
he didn't want to say
Nolan thing.
He didn't want to do all that because all these fans are gonna just roast him and just tear him a new one. You know, you're just giving us whatever just because.
It's so hard to be a creator.
Yeah,
dude. I would just tell everybody to blow me. Go make your own movie then.
Right.
What were you saying?
It makes sense. Good and evil. That's the balance, right? You have to have an evil. You have to have good to have an evil, or vice versa. So
that was just the way I interpreted it.
No, but I mean, it makes sense though, right? It makes sense. Just for me, the Force is just good. It's just good Force, and what the Siths use, it's just something completely different because they're drawing from bad emotions and anger, and
so you think it's a big giant pool, which probably is the case. Okay,
maybe that's why Luke Skywalker was so strong, because there was nobody else to draw from the pool.
All I'm saying is that I'm okay with Palpatine dying.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with all the bad guys losing. Just don't say that you're going to bring balance to the Force. I think it would have been a bigger disservice if they killed it off and then there was balance, because you're going to get people who are analytical like me, but who are going to look at it, okay, well, what does balance mean?
Yeah.
That's what happened is not balanced. But I don't know. Just a nerd. As the Force as a whole, having a light side and a dark side, and whatever comes with each end of the spectrum, whether it's emotions or actions, does that sort of oversimplify the morality of choices as a Jedi or a Sith?
Kind of does. Kind of dumb, because, you know, how are you going to make me choose light or dark?
Well, I mean, I think that there's a clear absolution that if you're not
with us, you're against us,
type
thing?
At least from the light side, because if you're not willing to adopt our way of thinking, then you can't be in our club, basically, because you can't be in a unified movement to fulfill an agenda if you don't agree with everything that we're doing.
So Luke's stepfather, you know, the ones that adopt Luke, his uncle, they were kind of neutral. They were just in the middle. They didn't have to choose.
Right.
Because they were against Kenobi doing what he did and wanting to reach out to Luke and do all this stuff. They were trying to protect Luke.
Because they raised him. You know? It's like that was a kid they didn't have. And they were pissed off because, I mean, Anakin was family.
Yeah.
And all of this BS that you basically got him involved in now has ramifications. This boy does not have a father.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's anger with that.
Yeah. So, you know, that's.
And now they got Inquisitors there, like trying to mess everything up.
Yeah.
Like, this is on you, bro.
Right. Yeah.
Because you wanted to go into hiding. Like you didn't finish it. You know?
So, you know, he was against the light side.
Yeah.
And it worked for him.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's an oversimplification if you're looking at it from just like a morality scale. If you do this, you're good. If you don't do this, you're bad. But I definitely feel that with that kind of power of the Force, that there needs to be a sense of discipline, or you do get tempted by becoming more selfish and manipulating things for your own agenda that can ultimately lead you to make a slew of bad decisions, right? A quote that I love: "A path to hell is paved with good intentions," right? Like you think you're doing a lot of good things and you have good intentions to do the right thing, but it doesn't make it the right thing.
Right. It's the right thing in your eyes.
Right.
But is it the right thing for everyone else?
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
And I think that that's the point of the Jedi code, right? Yeah. Even though you're emotional and this is driving you to do something that's good or justice, you have to think in an objective way
Right.
and not let your subjective emotions influence your decision making. Because even when you get in an argument with someone, you say things that you potentially don't even mean,
Right,
or
right.
or hype them up to a point where you really don't feel that much about it, but
Yeah.
because you're so angry, you're saying it, and you're just like, man, I really didn't mean it like that. I was mad,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But I think that goes into the next question. Moving forward with Star Wars, do you see a more like colorless grayscale of morality, right? And you see that a lot with Kenobi.
Yeah.
You know, you see with Anakin and Kenobi, it's like Qui-Gon Jinn, when he was training Kenobi, I knew that he was different, but he knew that he had a good heart. And even though he moved outside the bounds a little
Yeah.
bit, Qui-Gon Jinn knew that, you know what, he acts outside the bounds, but
He
he's going to do the right thing.
he reels it back in.
He reels it back in.
Yeah.
He has a discipline. You know
Yeah.
what? I'm stepping out.
Yeah.
I need to get back in.
Yeah.
And I think that discernment had Qui-Gon's trust, right?
Right.
And I think that because he knew that Qui-Gon trusted him with that a little more leeway with that thinking, that he kind of, to me, it almost felt like he had an inappropriate relationship with Anakin, that he was like, you were my brother. Like
Yeah.
you can't. And I think that was a part of the problem.
It was there was too many emotions
Right.
involved, I think, and that's what
And it allowed Anakin to speak freely when it
Yeah.
was inappropriate
Right.
to him, and there wasn't an appropriate hierarchy.
wasn't that father son thing. It was more of brother, and I
They were
think
closer in age,
right.
too.
And Anakin, I guess he felt more like he could express himself and
Because he trusted him.
yeah.
There was more of a trust. It wasn't like a teacher was like, I'm scared to say this because I'm
And how many times did Kenobi say no, don't do this, or when they're on the plane and it's like Anakin's
every
like
time.
I got you, I'm gonna do and
Only
it's like
every
being
time.
reckless, right?
But he got the job done.
He did.
Which I think is interesting, because I would love to see more grayscale Force users, because it's more in line with the general public,
Yeah.
right? Because you're looking at it as like how cool it would be to be a dark side Sith. But
Yeah.
if someone's gonna be like, kill 20 children, you're gonna be like, actually,
Yeah.
I don't want to do.
I'm hoping with Ahsoka, the season 2, I'm hoping they kind of do that a little bit more, because she's a gray Force user, whatever.
She's like Obi-Wan.
Yeah. So it's like I'm hoping with this season 2 they really explore that. And it says there's gonna be a lot more action. It's gonna show Admiral Thrawn.
Put some respect on it. No.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see.
He was such an iconic character after the original trilogy
Yeah.
and the
I mean, his
expanded
book
universe
was
in the books.
yeah, it was.
I'm talking about even before the new Thrawn.
Yeah.
Book. Like
Yeah.
and they, like Thrawn was a
He was
calculated dude.
He was. I don't know. You didn't really see Rebels, right? But
Mm-mm.
he was a big character in Rebels.
I think this is probably something you feel very strongly about. But should Star Wars, from this point moving forward, whether it's in the past or anywhere, and I think Mandalorian probably does a very good job with this, is anything that they do as far as extra outside Skywalker saga, should we divert from the Force? Should we keep the Force in it, or do they need to be the main focal point?
I mean, I don't think it always has to be the main focal point, because then you could, like you said with the Mandalorian, there's not really any Force involved. I mean, you got Baby Yoda, right? He does his little thing here and there, but for the most part, it's focusing more on Mandalorian and all these other stories and these fights and stuff. So then when you finally do get a Force user or a wielding lightsaber, like when Luke came out, or it just makes it that much bigger, right? Yeah, as opposed to just another lightsaber fight. Or even when you see the black saber, that's a big thing. It's wow, look at this. This is freaking cool. So to have that scaled back with the Force and all that, and then when you finally put it in there, it just makes it big for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it also helps that the Mandalorian lore and their culture is just very interesting to begin with.
Yeah.
That really, we've talked about it before. To me, what makes Star Wars is the Force.
Of
right?
course. The lightsaber is the Force. Yeah, all that stuff.
And that was a big part that I had a hard time adjusting watching The Mandalorian. But what kept me going with The Mandalorian was the Mandalorian culture, was their history, their lore.
Yeah.
What is that lifestyle
big.
like?
I mean, Clone Wars just
They did such a good job.
dives into like
how intertwined they were, their alliances.
All their city, everything, the way they lost their city, all that stuff is huge in Clone Wars.
It's awesome because in the Old Republic, the Mandalorians were very tribal.
Yeah.
They were heavy on combat, and then they hit this Gilded Age where everything was just political and diplomatic, and they lost sense of their true lineage, what made them Mandalorians.
Right.
And it was probably because they needed to play the game, right? If
Yeah.
they were going to be accepted and respected by like NATO, you got to play the game. You can't be
Right,
doing that.
right,
So
right.
and I know that's probably the catalyst of why they moved that way, but then they lost their true sense of self.
Yeah.
And all the things that happened in Clone Wars was evident. They go, you had loyalists in a sense.
Yeah.
They're really good. We believe in the old code. And you see that dynamic and seeing the remnants of that in The Mandalorian was just so cool. And
Yeah.
like going back after the disintegration of their diplomatic era. What's your favorite Star Wars song?
Star Wars song?
Yeah. Like if you had to choose a track.
Duel
of Fates, yeah. Duel of Fates, yeah. So
I mean, you could hear like the first like 2-3 notes of it, and I mean, obviously the original,
the fanfare.
yeah. Like everyone knows those, right? But I mean, Duel of Fates, everyone knows that now. But
it was always fun to listen to the first track of every album and see how they did the fanfare and how they transitioned it into the scene, like the first scene. I always enjoyed that. Though. How do they do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, Duel of Fates. So I was in choir my entire life. So I was not a stranger to like choral music or orchestral pieces and stuff like that. Yeah. So it wasn't foreign to me, but I never jammed it, you know?
Right.
And there was this girl who had the Phantom Menace soundtrack, and she basically put it in and she said, listen to this song. And she played Duel of Fates. And I remember at the end of it, I was sitting in the back seat with my two brothers. And I remember looking at the middle brother, Keelan, and we were like looking at each other because he was in choir too. It was almost a metal in orchestra.
Yeah.
Our faces melted. And I remember that was the song that got me like jamming orchestral music. That Hans Zimmer, that Alan Silvestri, treating these dudes like rock stars. That got me into the soundtrack or any orchestra or choral pieces. That was it.
I think Phantom Menace was probably the best soundtrack. Yeah. I mean, because you have the originals and the staples, but it wasn't until Phantom Menace that it was like actual freaking like
it was
full on pieces.
It was
so good. I went to go see Empire Strikes Back at the Houston Symphony. One of the best experiences ever. So freaking good, man. You got people cheer because they even tell you we encourage you to cheer and stand up and yell and throughout the movie because everyone's seen the freaking movie. Yeah. Right? So there's certain scenes where for me, whenever Luke can't get the starfighter out of the water and then Yoda comes in and that song comes out. Ooh. Oh man, it was so good.
Music is so powerful.
And to see like the orchestra like just playing the composer, it was so good, man. Oh, yeah. I recommend if you have not gone to a Houston Symphony to see Star Wars, go. Any symphony, really. Like, I know Harry Potter's got some stuff out, too. So
John Williams. Or at least he did the first couple movies.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It was his theme. He made the theme.
He did.
John Williams is the king of themes.
He is.
You can hear a theme that John Williams did, you know exactly what movie it is. He's just so good at it. He's just so
crazy
good
how many he like some people don't even know Jaws. Indiana Jones.
I can watch a movie, and at the time when I watched it as a kid, or at the I didn't know was John Williams, and go back and watch it as an adult, knowing John Williams' style.
Yeah,
I can just hear it and be like, "That's John."
Yeah,
like in the background, like the little things, just going, "That's John."
Yeah.
Oh, John.
Yeah. So good.
That's what's up, dude.
Yeah.
You have any other questions?
Which I know you haven't really seen too much. What are you looking most forward to? Ahsoka, the Darth Maul series, the Starfighter. I know the guy that did Deadpool, he's doing the Starfighter series. The guy that did
that's gonna be good.
They're doing another trilogy, another Star Wars trilogy that's gonna come out.
Movie?
Yeah.
What is that gonna be about? We don't know. No say.
And they're doing a Rey movie. I'm probably
it just depends on how they do it.
I mean,
it could be good. It just just depends on what they do.
For me, like it's crazy because obviously I can't wait for any of that.
I'm going to go see all of it.
Exactly, right? I'm going to go see every single one. But I'm more excited about the Darth Maul. And it's going to be a animated series. I thought it was going to be live action, but it's the guy that did the voice for the animated series in Clone Wars and in Rebels. It's going to be the same guy that's going to do the voice.
It's going to be computer or is it going to be like anime or like how is it?
It's probably, I don't know.
Dude, if it was anime, that'd be
sick. Oh. Yeah. Who knows? But I can't wait for that. I can't wait. It's going to be so good. It's going to be right after Clone Wars. Yeah.
Well, since you said that, I'm gonna say what I'm looking forward to most, and I'm gonna catch heat. But probably if what they're going to do, what I think they're gonna do, is gonna be Acolyte.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like to me that has a lot of promise.
Right.
There's some things I didn't like. There was things I didn't like about the show, but I do like the themes of the Acolyte, and I like that they're really exploring the dark side and what that lifestyle looks like.
You don't get too much of the dark side. It's always the light side, and then here's a little bit of dark.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Acolyte, I feel like it was 70 dark, 30 light.
Yeah. And the light that you saw, they were doing some shady stuff. Look at this mess you're having to clean up. Make it more of a mess. Hell yeah.
Cool, man.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Happy May the 4th.
Happy May the 4th. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because this guy won't say it, so I'll say it. Where's the banner? Right here? Right there. Hit that like button.
Appreciate it.